This is episode 177.
The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at. With your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The Ultimate Deck Podcast. Let's go.
It's Friday! Could you hear the excitement in my voice when I opened the episode number about it being Friday?
It sounded less excited than I thought it was going to be.
Really, hey?
There was no high five energy.
Have I set the precedence that I'm going to be more excitable at start? Yes, I have.
Yes, you have set that pretty high.
Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Wade, Bryce, Shane here with you again today. I like this whole trio thing. I think it's way better when there's three of us.
Someone's volume's on. Someone's volume's on.
Oh, well, it might be this. Hopefully that fixed it up. It could be that too. I didn't turn that one off. But Precision Construction, Scott Kelly, he's pumped at the trios here. Well, hell yes, he says on Instagram. Of course, if you listen to this podcast on the podcast things, you can also watch it live on Instagram. We typically record them at, starting now, we're going to typically record them at 3 o'clock on Fridays.
That's the plan?
3 o'clock Central on Fridays. We're a little bit late today.
It's 3:30.
The only reason I say that is because we used to do it on Thursdays, and we kind of decided that it'd be Fridays because that allows the guys and the girls watching to like grab a beer, sit down. It's the weekend, and they can.
This is how you kick your week. TGIF.
Head into the weekend with us.
This is ABC's TGIF.
If you could do anything on a late Friday, what would it be? Listening to this?
It would be to watch the Ultimate Deck podcast in portrait mode on my phone.
Right. Yeah.
On your golf cart.
Oh,
maybe. What's going on, gentlemen? What do you got? The weather's finally turned nice. So what are you guys doing these days? You doing much?
Well, I mean,
you're still doing hockey things in the weekend as of last weekend.
Yep. That's going to go on until the end of May, early June.
The end of hockey season always
that's different.
It
hockey.
confuses me though.
Yeah.
It seems to go on well into the spring.
Yeah,
and it's a very winter sport.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. But
Still
it's been very
winter.
wintry out there until the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. This is spring hockey.
Oh, so this
the winter
is the new hockey.
Yeah, the winter hockey has run its course, and now Chase is in spring hockey.
So how far does that go? Does it go
till the end of May?
Then summer hockey starts.
And then summer. I was going to say.
God, I really hope
Canada.
he doesn't. I hope he doesn't play summer hockey.
It's Canada. Do you guys want to get into this or what?
Myself, just because I think that he should play other sports. I think that you should be a multifaceted thing at 9 years old.
Okay, there's a topic we can chat about. That's your belief. You've said yours now. Because obviously the last number of years, parents mostly and coaches have decided that kids, if they're going to try to make it to the big leagues, should specialize in a sport and just play that sport endlessly. That's your best way of getting there. But there's a lot of former pro athletes, like I believe Wayne Gretzky is one of them, that said that, no, you should play a lot of sports.
Can you believe?
You should be well-rounded.
Yeah. Could you believe how good your hand-eye coordination would be as a baseball player if you played lacrosse in the winter? Box lacrosse?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all grew up in an age where there were at least two high-level NFL and MLB players that crossed over in both sports.
Right. And that is unheard of now.
It's insane.
You don't do that now.
Even Michael Jordan couldn't pull a high level.
But he played
pretty close.
He played higher level baseball than a lot of people
That's
did.
true. Yeah.
Because I think if you're athletic, you're athletic. It is what it is. Like if you have the ability to control your body and be extreme elite in one sport, you're probably not awful at others.
Right.
Not awful, but extreme elite.
Yeah. The caveat is Charles Barkley's golf swing. Right.
Yeah.
But Michael Jordan's golf swing is really good.
Right.
Do you think that there would ever be there won't be, but notice that the two sport athletes, baseball was one of the sports.
I always noticed that it was you guys picked the laziest sport.
I'm not saying that's the easiest one, but I'm kind of saying that's the easiest one.
I'm pretty sure both of those guys were big hitters. And that was they played in what did they play in the ALS or whatever, so that you didn't have to be a fielding position. You could just be a hitter.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So,
I know
but that's
the one
not,
guy was
that's not what Bo did.
No.
Bo was a fielder.
Bo was a fielder. Yeah. So Bo was really good. Bo Jackson.
He was unbelievable.
And he was a good football player too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think baseball is the
baseball's the only sport where you can kind of be overweight. Still.
That's not true. I was trying to say it.
Golf is that way.
Well, the golf. Okay,
but golf is less that way now than it ever has been.
Yes,
sure. Yeah, now that Daly's gone, it's like everybody looks fairly in shape.
He signed a deal with Hooters the other day. Him and his son. That's a true story. He's like sponsored by Hooters now. Him and his son.
That's funny.
Yeah, they got good wings.
Anyway, that's the story. There's a lot of pro athletes though that did play at a high college level before going in. Like there's a lot of they play football now, but they played college basketball as well.
Yep.
Or college baseball, and then they had got drafted in the NFL instead of whatever. Like, but they definitely don't play both at the pro level anymore like they used to.
Yeah, I feel like playing both at the pro level now is pretty tough. I just think your competition is way different than it used to be too.
Because wasn't it the Michael Jackson, The Last Dance documentary where they talked about his
Michael Jordan.
What did I say?
Jackson.
It was not Dance. Michael Jackson that did this. It was the dancing through me. Michael Jordan. Was it him? Was it that documentary that they talked about how he would have to get on a plane and fly to whatever? No, because he wasn't playing baseball. But
maybe they were talking about Deion Sanders.
It was a different documentary I watched then, I guess, where it was there was one time where he had a ball game in the morning and a football game at night or something.
Yeah, that was Deion Sanders.
Finished, got on a plane and flew and then played again that night. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Okay.
Bo and Dion were both outfielders, says Scott.
They were both
and
outfielders.
Carly says, what about curling? You can be in crappy shape in curling. Yeah, I think there's an asterisk as to whether that's even a sport.
Whoa.
I'll go there.
Until you play it, and then
it's
you
an
rip
activity.
a hamstring.
From Saskatchewan, and you're saying curling isn't a sport?
Yep. I'm also wearing a hoodie. I live like a rebel. But no, it's not an athletic sport. I'm sorry. Does it take a lot of talent? 100%.
Absolutely.
But it's mostly mental.
I would. The only reason I would disagree is because I think tournament play is an athletic sport.
Sure.
Because you're playing 10 games sometimes over 4 or 5 days.
Right. But I've gone out every 4 years.
I mean,
I'll go curl on Boxing Day. I'm not out of breath.
Right.
I go out and play one shift in hockey that I do once a week, and I'm out of breath at the end of that shift.
Yeah, you throw one dodgeball and your shoulders out too.
Right,
so.
and dodgeball, also out of breath. I'm just saying that it's not a high-intensity activity.
That's fair.
You have to be good, 100%. Yeah. There's a lot to it, but being in super great shape is not one of the things.
It's like more athletic chess.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, so let's get on to it.
Yeah, let's get on to it.
Last week, we knew this was going to happen.
It was really good. Remember last week when we were talking about whatever it was that we were talking about?
Yeah, that was good. Last week, we did an episode on hey, if you're a vendor, pull up a chair, you said.
Yeah.
And it was all about here's some things that kind of piss us off when we're dealing with vendors. Be better at these things, right? So this week, we're let's poke fun at ourselves a little bit then.
Yes.
We poked fun at the vendors, not poked fun. We gave some good feedback and criticism.
Yes.
Last week, we heard back from a few that were oh, your podcast ended up in our manager meeting. Your podcast did this. Or one of our reps replied back. I asked him a question. He's no an issue, no known date for fix, which is one of our things. People were listening.
At least the orders that we placed didn't get canceled because of the episode.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So far, there isn't many canceled orders. So anyways, this week we thought, hey, let's take a look at ourselves and make fun of ourselves a little bit and talk about all the stuff we used to do really poorly.
Really?
How poorly?
Really, really bad. So this is our 7th year in business. We've been in business for 6 full years. It's our 7th season coming in. I feel like we've gotten to a place now where I'm happy and I'm proud of what we've built here. And it's everything's running well and we're doing well, but it wasn't like that 6 years ago. That's for sure.
Could you imagine still doing some of this stuff?
No, looking back at some of these things now, we're how did we ever get away with that? How did we sell anything?
Who would give
How
us
did we not get shut down? How? So we thought, let's look back. We've been at 2 locations in Regina. So for those who haven't followed us for our whole history, we started out in a little tiny 1,000 square foot building. There was 1,000 square feet upstairs and 1,000 on the main floor. So our retail store was 1,000 square feet. That's the size of a small bungalow, not very big for a store.
Yeah.
And then the yard was just 3 times bigger than that. So it was like 3,500 square feet. It was like the average size of a backyard.
Right.
But that's what we started out with because we were just starting out. We wanted to like put our toe in the water before we jumped right in. And we had no money. Yeah. So,
hey man,
as a result of choosing to go into cozy little digs, we had to do things pretty creatively sometimes.
Especially because everything we carry is
not things.
Small.
Yeah.
Big things. One lift of decking covers a lot more than 1,000 square feet. Like one is like. So, anyways, we're just going to tell some stories about how we used to do things back in the good old days. So, starting at Cara Street when we were in our little tiny, we also had what, 3 parking spots there?
Yeah.
3 parking spots.
One for me, one for you,
yeah,
and one for the customer that came.
Yeah.
2 for the trucks, and
but
one
only
for
if
the
you drove a
customer.
small sedan.
Yeah, because you had to park between the trucks.
So anyways, I think one of the funniest things we used to do at that original location was unload full semi trucks
Yep.
in the middle of the road.
Yep.
Because we could not fit a semi in our yard. It wouldn't happen.
We couldn't fit a trailer in our yard.
We could barely fit the forklift in our yard. Like the yard was tiny.
When truck drivers would pull up, I remember it was just like they would drive up and they would park beside the gate.
Right.
They would know that they couldn't come in. And then they would walk into the store and they'd be like, okay, I'm here. Where do we unload? I was like, what side of the trailer is it on? Oh, it's on driver's side. Then don't move. You're right
where I want you.
What? I'm just parked. And was like, yeah, well, that's what's going to happen. And if it was on the passenger side, then they had to drive around the block and line yourself up in the middle. In the middle of the road.
You're going to want to get off the curb a little bit here.
And they were like, well, who's going to control traffic? I was like, well, it seems like they just drive around you.
Yeah, you're pretty big.
You'll be fine. And I'll kind of watch for cars while I unload the semi, and I'll try to not put decking through a window. And then we did that for 2 years.
Did you place all the decking in the yard, or did it ever end up on the having to put it on the street?
Yes, to both of those.
Yeah. We put some on the street and we put some in the yard. Most of it went in the yard, but there was absolutely some that ended up on the street.
Oh man.
Accidentally and on purpose.
Did you ever dump any on the street?
Yep.
Oh my.
And sometimes you would have stuff on both sides of the semi. So those guys had to park in the middle, like literally the middle of the street.
Yeah, middle.
The thing is, that street was like, for an off-road that was kind of like not a major artery, it kind of was, because it was the only street that ran between 2 major streets.
Right, it runs between Dudney and Vic.
Right. Yeah. So between Park Street and Winnipeg, the only thoroughfare there was McCara Street that we were on. So not a main street, but it was busy enough because it was a connector street. And so when you stopped a semi in the middle of the road for an hour, like you didn't do it unnoticed.
People noticed.
That's how you found out how busy that street was.
Yeah.
Whoa, stop.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like car. And so we like, when they got to about 7 or 10 cars deep, then you would stop,
let them through,
and then start again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bit of a shite show.
I don't know how OH&S didn't show up on that one. I don't know how we didn't get a ticket for that.
Yeah. But we did it for 2 years.
They probably showed up and were like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah, but they were 6 deep in the line.
Yeah,
They couldn't get to us.
By the time they got to you, they were like, I'm done with this place.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So then once we got the product off the trailer,
Right.
That
and
wasn't
onto the
scary.
forks,
That was not scary.
that was just the beginning of the adventure. Because then we had to get this stuff through a gate that was only 14 feet wide.
Yep.
And as you know, the 3 most common things we unloaded off that thing were 12 feet wide. I'd tell you, you can probably get that through there. 16 feet wide, it can be, and 20 feet wide. And so we had to.
Did you lift it over the gate?
Yeah.
Every
What?
time. And the
So
gate,
like full lifts?
6 feet.
Yeah. 20 footers bending. You know how they bend.
Yeah.
Like they're flexible, especially the composite decking. We would have to, and the gates swung out
Yep.
towards you. They weren't a rolling gate. They swung out. And so, you wouldn't usually get them all the way back to the fence again. So they would sit out like a ways. So you'd have to go like full mast almost, because to lift a 20 footer with how it sags on the ends, you'd have to have the middle like 15 feet in the air, because the ends would only be 12 feet in the air.
That is like the most dangerous thing you could do.
Right. And so we got to lift it over top of the fence. Fine. Fence is 6 feet tall.
That's not bad if it's a straight run.
Right.
Because it was.
But the yard's elevation was probably like 2 feet higher than the street. Like it was up a bit. And to get up to it, we actually, the gate in the front that was 14, here's the dumb part. We put that gate there. It could have been wider. That gate could have been wider.
It could have been, but it was going to cost
we
too
thought
much.
that would be fine. And so,
well, there was trees on either side too.
we never ever had them like excavate and put in a proper drive way to the yard.
So it was
just like
straight up.
It used to be grass. I think we maybe dumped some like crush.
Oh my God.
we dumped
Some shit there to hopefully, some slag in there and tried to pack the slag in. But essentially it was a super steep incline to get in, and it was just like rutted up.
Yeah.
So you've got this 20-foot decking on top of your forks, sagging on the ends, and then you got to go uphill with it
on an
for like about a 6-foot
back.
It's like a 6 or maybe an 8-foot long drive.
Yep.
Elevating to 2 feet. So pretty steep incline.
Yeah.
So you're sitting back in the forklift with this shit way up in the air, trying to go over a fence, and then you're in ruts. So, and you got these big air-filled tires. So you're just like rocking this in, and this thing is like flapping like a bird trying to get over the fence.
Supposed to take off.
It was so sketchy. But that's how we got the stuff into the yard.
That seems like like forklift 101 that you're not supposed to like drive up an incline with your forks of full mast.
Oh yeah. Like they probably could have made
properly
a training video about how we did that. It was like, this shit right here, don't do
any of this stuff.
Okay. So that was interesting. What else did we do there, Wade? That yard.
Well, the yard was bad. We just had to you've seen the movie of Austin Powers where his car is parked where he's like trying to turn around in a hallway.
Yeah.
I felt like that every day.
That was the yard.
Every single time we had to take material out of that yard, it was like forward a little bit, backwards a bit.
You were that ship caught in the canal.
Suez. Yeah.
100%.
Our first location in the Suez Canal.
Yeah. We had railing.
Oh.
We brought all of our railing inside.
Because you didn't want to damage it.
And then carried it up the stairs. That wall, the height of that first floor was what, 12 feet?
Yeah, it was a bit of a hike.
Stairs, right?
Yeah, it was a bit of a hike.
6 steps up, a landing, and then 13 steps up. Something like
90-degree right turn.
There was 2 right turns. There was a right turn. So there's actually 3. You come in the door, you have to turn right immediately.
Yep.
Go up 4, 5, 6 steps to a landing, turn left 90 degrees, go up to the top of the stairs, turn left again through a doorway, and up there is where we had all of our railing racks displayed, which is fine if you're hauling like 4-foot posts up there. When you're carrying 10-foot rails or 12-foot rails or panels of different sizes, whatever, and they would all go upstairs, and then we would sell them, we'd grab them, we would haul them all back downstairs.
Oh my gosh.
But where else were we going to put them?
I don't know. You should put your showroom upstairs.
Right? We almost should have actually just put you're right.
But it was so freaking hot up there.
Oh yeah.
You could never be up there.
It was 140 degrees up there at all times.
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was bad.
Okay, because we had no air. Did we even have air conditioning in the bottom floor?
No.
We had no air conditioning in that building?
Yeah, we did. Yep.
Bottom, but just upstairs wasn't vented into.
Yeah, because we put the air conditioner on the side of the building, but we couldn't put it on the ground because the space on the ground was so valuable. We had them screw the air conditioner 20 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, how are you ever going to service that? And I was like, that's not my problem. I won't be here when that thing needs service. We'll be gone by then.
Yeah. Well, we'll just stack lumber until we get up to the top.
Yeah.
What else do we have in that yard, especially because we had some, we split that yard in half. Actually, the yard itself was probably originally 35 feet wide and probably 100 feet deep.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a little bit longer. Like it would have been as deep as a building. But we only had part of it. We ended up putting up a fence so that the other tenant could have the back half of the yard. The other tenant was a mechanic, not the tenant, he was a landlord. It was a mechanic auto body shop that kept all of his like crap back there, including like 2 or 3 junkyard dogs at any given time. So
there was a Doberman,
which was like good and bad for us.
Like straight out of a Snoop Dogg video.
Yeah. Kept the place in check maybe.
Right.
But not the super most friendly place when somebody walks into the yard to go grab something and just like 3 dogs.
Like at the
constantly.
fence. Yeah.
So that wasn't ideal either. What else do you want to talk about? How we used to deliver material?
Yeah. So sometimes traditional deliveries just on a trailer, half-ton and trailer, that was really good. But when we got too busy, then we had to outsource it. And so we had a towing company deliver deck boards for us.
How did that conversation go? Like
We needed
when you
a tilt-
phoned the towing company and you were like,
He was
hey,
really receptive.
I don't remember where that idea even came from.
We needed a tilt deck, and it was like, well, what things tilt deck?
Who does tilt decks?
who's got a
Tow
tilt
trucks,
deck?
dude.
Towing companies have tilt decks. So then we called a towing company,
Yeah.
and the guy was like, yeah, I guess so. And so I don't know, we were delivering a 20-foot deck package, and his deck was 16 feet long. So we had the lumber hang out the back so that when he tilted the deck down, it could land, the lumber would land first, and then the decking wouldn't get damaged. And what we found out is that the tilt deck on a lumber truck is significantly steeper than the tilt deck on a tow truck. And so there's a reason they do that. So because he could never get the material off the truck. Like it was he wasn't able to get the deck high enough to like really sort of stick the lumber into the ground and then drive away. So anyways, that proved challenging, but he was quite receptive. Tried.
Hey, that was the best idea we had at the time.
Well, that was the only idea.
Because it used to be like hauling it out and hand loading it after hours, basically.
Yeah.
Probably was what we did before we had people hired. It was like you worked the store all day. I was out building decks.
Yep.
We'd come back. We'd pick orders after 6 o'clock, whatever, and then drive them out and handle them. So when we found a way that we could just load an order onto somebody's truck and it left and it showed up at the place, it was like, this is the shit. This is the way to do it. But looking back on it, it's kind of funny though. Here comes my decking delivery on Trevor's Towing. Boop, boop, slam. There it goes. Peace. Did it get there? Oh yeah. It's kind of in a weird spot because I couldn't really get backed into the right spot, but it's like, it's in their back alley and it's like, sounds good.
Sounds good.
One of the other things I thought was really funny is it was a commercial retail space. So we had to put a bathroom in there. There wasn't one when the building was a shell. It was brand new when we moved in there. And so we had to put a bathroom in for the public to use. And so we did. But I would say we probably put the least amount of effort in that.
We rushed that a bit.
Yeah.
You rushed the first bathroom.
So we framed in proper walls and everything, but we did not account for any sort of sound barrier. We didn't use a commercial door on it. It was just like a hollow cord, cheap,
because you didn't have
Lowe's
to do
door
any,
or something.
Yeah, you didn't have to do any fire rating. It was all within our own space.
Yeah, and that bathroom door was I'm not kidding. It was like 6 feet maybe from the front counter, and on the other side, of the wall to that was our desk, where Wade would be working at that desk.
Right.
So somebody goes in there to do a grumpy, and it's like. There's no secrets in that place. It's only 1,000 square feet, that place. So anybody in the building at the time could hear if you weren't super quiet. Do you have a bathroom here?
But
I wouldn't use that.
Even if the thunder rolled, you're just in there.
Yeah.
Freaking a leak. And
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awful.
So not ideal.
Yeah. The customers for sure did not like that spot.
Yeah.
This is all at McCara still?
This is all at McCara, first location. These are the growing pains of being in your first tiny little building. But you brought this one up, and this has nothing to do with the building, but the very first spring home show we decided to do, which was, we thought the way we'd get our name out there the first time is let's go into this Regina Spring Home Show. Seems like it'd be a good place to be.
You didn't even have a building yet.
We didn't, we had nothing yet. This is the first thing we did.
We booked the show first.
At the show, when we had the building.
During the show, we had a building.
It wasn't ready, but we were working on it. But we were like, well, we've got this booth in kind of a crappy location and it's only 10 by 10. How are we going to get people over to our aisle when we're tucked away in the corner kind of thing? Mm-hmm. And so we racked our brains and came up with the idea of hiring Corey Sheets to come to our booth. Corey Sheets, for those who don't know, used to play for the Miami Dolphins. Then he was up with the Saskatchewan Roughriders for a bit. And then he was down with the Oakland Raiders, tore his Achilles tendon, and so was out of football at that time because he was off on injury. And there was all the speculation that, well, if he doesn't go back to the Oakland Raiders, maybe he'll come back to Saskatchewan. He was awesome. So a lot of people wanted him to come back. Yeah. And so we thought, well, frick, if we bring Corey Sheets to town, that'll create a buzz for sure.
Yeah.
And so we just Instagrammed him. We're hey, had no idea where he was. Instagram to see if he'd be interested. It turns out he was living in Florida. That's where he was rehabbing. And we're we're just crazy idea. I wonder if you'd be in Regina at some point and would want to come sign autographs and stuff at a trade show. And he's like, sure. Get me up there, put me up and I'll do it. what do you need paid? Nothing. I've been wanting to come back there and like visit some friends and stuff. So if you just fly me up there and put me up, and we're like, holy smokes, we're going to use Air Miles. We're going to get him here for free. We're going to get a hotel for a couple nights and we'll have this guy at our booth. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? Don't worry about the hotel. I've got a condo I can stay at there. So we're like, okay.
So it gets even cheaper.
So we're going to use Air Miles. Turns out the Air Miles was in a blackout period, so we couldn't. But still, I think we were like, whatever, $800 we got.
Yeah, it cost us $800 or something.
Yeah. Got him flown up. He stayed at his place. We bought him some food when he got to town, whatever. We took care of him while he was here and got him up here. But it turns out the funny thing is he had no idea what we were doing. We didn't really.
No.
Like, he had no idea about our business. He just like, we were on the Ultimate Deck Shop. We want you to come play autographs. He's like, sounds good. He came up, flew up, picked him up at the airport, grabbed him some chicken wings, dropped him off at his condo, picked him up the next day, brought him to the show. It wasn't until he stepped foot onto our booth that he's like, wait, what do you guys do? And we're like, we sell like decking and lumber and stuff. He's like, I totally thought this was a trading card. I thought it was like sports cards. Like,
right.
Like what's
the ultimate
upper deck trading cards. That's what he had in his mind, which would make perfect sense as to why we'd want an athlete to come work at our booth. But instead, we brought him to a decking store and had him hang out at our booth for a few days. So it worked though.
It did work.
It brought people to it. And at that time, people were like, "Oh my God, Corey Sheets in town. He's going to sign with the Rough Riders. He's going to sign with the Rough Riders." In the meantime, he had actually signed with Montreal at that time, but nobody knew that yet. And he had told me that. And we're like, we're just going to keep that between you and me.
Right.
If people get excited that you're in town because you might be signing here, that'll create a bigger buzz. So we'll just keep that. And then he ended up not, he never played football again after that.
No, he never did.
So that was that. That was the
Corey Sheets debacle.
That was the end of the days at McCara.
Oh, yeah.
That was the fun of McCara.
That was 2 years, hey?
We lasted 2 years there. But it became pretty evident pretty quickly that that was not the long-term plan.
Yeah. When did you like figure out that like this was no longer going to work?
We opened on a Monday, I think Tuesday.
The first truck rolled in and you're like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah. Turns out how we thought this place was just perfect. We knew it wasn't. We knew it was always not going to be the forever home.
Yeah.
But at this time, we had no idea if this business was super viable or not. Like we thought it was. We did some math and thought it would work, whatever. But the options after that place was like, either this doesn't work and we don't need this place anymore, or it does work and we need something bigger. We knew that from day one.
Yeah.
We just didn't know how quickly that would be. And it turns out we knew like the first year, we're like, this is awful to like, we can't operate like this out of here.
Right.
And then of course, year two, we grew again and it was like, we need to move somewhere. And so, a building not too far from us, just around like probably I would say like 6 or 8 blocks away.
Yep.
Opened up that I believe we actually looked at the first time and didn't take it because it was too big for what we wanted at the time. It was still open. And so we're like now's the time.
Right.
We should go look at this place. So we went and looked at the place on Dudney and now it was perfect. Because
at that
it was
time, yeah.
At that time, because we knew like we had 2 years of, well, at that time, probably 1.5 years of sales under our belt. We're like, we are growing. This thing is working. Now we can probably afford this bigger lease.
Right.
So we should move here. It's on a busier street. So the
more
drive-by traffic and visibility is going to be much better.
Yep.
It'll be great to be on a busy street like that. It'll like give us some free visibility.
That'll be the best,
It'll
right?
be just awesome to have that much traffic.
Easy
in front
to
of us.
get to.
Right. Parking lot's bigger.
Yeah.
Now we have like
4 or 5
6
stalls,
parking
6
spots.
stalls. Yep.
We've doubled our parking spots. Our yard now goes from 3,500 square feet to I think it was 15,000 square feet.
Oh, wow.
So it's 5 times bigger.
Right.
4 or 5 times bigger. So that seems like a big jump too.
Right.
The building went to, what was it? Wait, what was the size of the second building? Was it 4,000 square feet?
4,500, I thought.
4,500 square feet. So we've now put all of the space that we had before, which is 2,000 combined over 2 floors, onto 1 floor and doubled it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So now we're laughing.
Bam, bam.
Now we put up a wall in the middle of it. We keep 2,000 square feet for our showroom. So that's twice as big now. And we have a 2,000 square foot warehouse in the back that we never really had before. Mm-hmm. We have this yard that's 5 times bigger.
An overhead door in the back.
We had an overhead door. We could get in and out of the warehouse.
Forklift.
That was pretty cool. And so we thought we had found it.
Bigger, better.
We had found our forever home.
Faster.
It's like everything's twice as much, even the rent. But it was good. It was like it seemed like it was gonna be the perfect place for us. So we pulled the trigger and we moved.
Shit.
Shit. Maybe you should have kept looking.
What do you unload? you unload semis?
Well, we were convinced when you're standing in that yard that we had, so to paint the picture, the yard was mostly in the back behind the building, and there was about a 30-foot wide, like along the side of the building, 30-foot wide drive back to the yard. And so when it's empty, and then when you get to the back, it was probably only 60 feet wide, 70 feet wide, maybe?
It might have been 70.
When you get to the back, we're like, well, this will be fine. Like semis will be able to pull in here. They can come down the back. We can unload them in the back.
Back out.
Yeah. They weren't turning around.
Yeah.
But, well, actually, we put a gate in there and thought maybe they could turn around and go around because this building was split in two. There was another tenant on the other side. We thought maybe they could do a big U and come out, but that didn't ever materialize for some reason.
Paid a lot to put that rolling gate in, and then the neighbor parked all of his junk in front of that gate.
Yeah.
It was never
I don't know if it was ever going to work anyway, but regardless.
Yeah. How many semis did you get back there?
The first one.
One got in. And
one semi
couldn't really get out. So that ended that experiment. Because it turns out once you put shit in the yard,
there's a lot less room.
There's a lot less room for them to maneuver around in there.
Yeah.
And we had put stuff like down that lane, we had put lumber on both sides. So those are 4 feet deep plus off the wall a little bit. So those are 5 feet. So you're left with, it must have been 40 feet wide on that side or something.
I don't know. It wasn't big.
Regardless, it was tight to get down there. The first time the first time that semi truck got back there, we unloaded them somehow. I don't even know how we got to both sides to unload them, but it happened.
He moved around. He like drove in and then went he pulled in and kind of went to the west.
Austin powered a little bit.
Yeah.
So he goes to back out and he can't back out. He's like,
get all the way out.
Because he boxed him in there?
No,
So there was a power box. There was like a utility box in the middle of our parking lot. Like one of those big ones.
Yeah.
That's power ones. Probably consumes like 6 feet by 6 feet of space. And so that thing was really not in a great spot. And so he was able to kind of come in off the one direction off the road and get straight to pull straight in, but to back out, he couldn't, I can't remember what, but he couldn't make that angle. He couldn't get around that box. And so we ended up having to
I picked the trailer up with a forklift.
Wade picked the trailer up, back into the trailer up with the forklift and had to side shift him.
Oh man.
Over a couple feet so that he could clear past that box and get back out of there. So that was it. I was like, we can't put, and that forklift was just like on its rims. It was just like, it lifted, it was like right down to the ground. It was like so much weight. So we got it moved over a little bit. He got out of there, but we never ever tried to pull another semi into that yard.
I wonder why.
We didn't unload semis on the road anymore.
Right.
Now we just use the parking lot.
Yes. That you thought was going to be for customers,
but
turned out it was just for unloading.
Yeah. And so the only spot that a semi could fit in that parking lot was to be tight to that power box we just talked about on one side.
Right.
And tight to the back of the vehicles and the parking spots on the other side, basically. So we would have to have the semi pull up so that he was in line with the gate for our yard, so the forklift could get and kind of pick off that side.
Oh, so the forklift would just go like out the gate, pick up, back up, and then
it would come out of the yard through the gate, pick stuff off, and back up all the way to the back again.
Yeah,
and then set it down and come back, and then we have to okay, pull forward a bit. He'd pull forward, we'd finish the back, and then he'd have to pull all the way forward so that the forklift could get out of the yard, and then he'd have to back up so that the forklift could get to the other side, unload stuff into the parking lot, get him to move forward again,
drive into the yard,
unload the rest of it. Then that guy could eventually leave, and then we'd have to move all the stuff into the yard when he was gone.
Wow.
So while that was happening, nobody was getting in or out of our parking spots, nor the landlord's parking spots for that matter.
So hopefully or customers didn't come in to get a quote.
Yeah. And then they're stuck there. And then the neighbor,
like the traffic
that happened.
The semi truck would have to pull halfway onto the neighbor's parking lot too, to line his trailer up with our gate. And they didn't like that at all.
Oh, okay.
So eventually they threw up some concrete barricades.
Making friends, it sounds like.
So that you couldn't drive.
But we were able to just pick those up and move them like that.
That's what a forklift's for.
Yeah. We move those all the time. I didn't care.
Yeah. So then we had...
the yard was
not fun there anymore because we'd piss people off and they were grumpy with us. And every time a semi come, it was just a stressful day for everybody. It's like the guy that had to unload it was stressed out. We were stressed out. It was like customers stressed out. The landlord was stressed out. The neighbors stressed out.
Yeah.
Not good for anybody, but it's how we had to do it for 2 years.
The inside of the store looked really nice though.
That's the one thing about that store that I still to this day really liked. The inside showroom was nice. It was really nice.
It was a great speed track. So kids would come in and run that circle. It was like a big horseshoe.
Yeah.
So kids would come in and they would run and run and run and run, which was okay if it was just their parents. But if there was another set of people in there, like if there was another couple trying to buy things, it was so loud.
Yes. Carly says, now I know why Wade wanted the 8,000 pound forklifts.
Yes.
Yes. Because we used to want to take off as much as we could in one shot because it was going to be in the way the whole time.
Yep.
It's like, can we get one that can take off 4 lifts at a time? And so that's kind of the reason. Now, the yard up there was also not hard packed whatsoever.
It was so bad. Like if you think back to what that yard was now,
Yeah.
it's amazing that we even made money.
Yeah.
Was it just like gravel on top of dirt?
Dirt,
Yeah. It was gravel on top
Some
of
gravel
dirt.
here and there.
Because that always works when it rains.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So after we had been in there for a bit, driving forklifts around, turning them on the spot and grinding that down, we would end up with just like lakes back there when it rained or thawed. We'd have pumps trying to pump water out because it wasn't graded out anywhere. And so then when it would dry and you'd end up with these massive ruts in the yard and you were like, again, carrying stuff on a forklift and just like bouncing from side to side.
When we were moving out, we actually dug decking out of mud. Like actually dug
like
it.
sunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like quicksand.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars lost. And for a customer's point of view, when a customer would come to get decking, it would be piled so high and in such an awful spot to get to that they would say, I want to pick up one board to finish my deck. And we would say, can you come back in 3 hours? Because that's how long it's going to take us to get that board up. And they'd be like, but it's just one board.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
On the bottom of a 6-lift pile behind 2 other 6-lift piles. We have to move 12 lifts of decking to get to the one that has your stuff in it.
Super efficient.
Pick it up.
Awful.
Like lift the 5 stacks of decking, pull one board out, and no doubt it was trashed. Like it was scratched for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And if it wasn't scratched when we got to it, then it was by the time we got it out of there.
Yeah.
And then and then send it away, send it out to people. It was like no way you could tell if it was going to be scratched when you got to it. So you'd shuffle through stuff and then deliver scratched decking.
Yeah, not ideal.
It was the result of the environment, I believe.
It's amazing not only that anybody shopped with us, but also that anybody stayed working with us.
Yeah.
Like we put them into that. It was like, and some of them didn't. Like we had we for sure lost some people because of how much of a shit show it was.
Yeah.
To work back in that yard.
Yeah.
It was like we let a guy go and it was like, for sure, it was mostly our fault. The environment we had put him in was not fair. And so you'd ask him to do something simple and he'd get grumpy about it. He had every reason to be grumpy about it.
Yeah.
Right. But it is what it is. What else did we do funny there? So we built that space out from scratch. It was an empty shell again.
Yeah.
Well, not true. We gutted it first. It did have something in it. They had had a bit of a showroom up front. We gutted it to redo it. So we basically started from an empty shell, built it ourselves. And when they came in, it was, what were the 20-foot ceilings there? Probably 18 feet or something.
Yeah, must have been.
And we didn't want and up top, it was like the building was old though. So there was a lot of shit up in the ceilings, and it was all like rusty and old and a lot of cables everywhere and pipes and plumbing and all this crap. And we're like, we need to hide all that. So we put a drop ceiling in at 12 feet, I think it was. Put a drop ceiling in. And because we wanted to preserve as much space as we could, we decided to put the furnace. We told them to put the furnace. We needed a new furnace up in the ceiling because we didn't want to lose floor space.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, it'll be fine.
Like, sounds like the air conditioner all over again.
Yeah, it was. We're like, yeah, just put it up there on top of there. They're like, well, how are you going to get to it? It's like, well, we'll get a ladder out and go through the ceiling or something, whatever. And then we told the internet guys to put the modem up there too, in a different spot though, actually. Different spot in the ceiling.
Don't put it by the place we're already going to. Put it over here.
Right. So then anytime we had to reboot the internet or change a furnace filter, we had to haul out ladders, put it up against the wall in the showroom, poke ceiling tiles out. Some we have to crawl up in the dark area up there, which there was some like old style like lights up there. They just took 14 minutes to turn on. Like I'm going up, I'm going to prepare by turning the lights on now. But usually what you do is take your phone up there and a flashlight.
Right.
Go up there, change the furnace filter, crank your head on something. And then shimmy back out of the ceiling and then probably leave the ladder there because that's a pain in the ass, all that in and out. So then there's just like people come in and there's like, just a ladder into the ceiling all the time for what?
Don't worry, we had to change the furnace filter.
Yeah.
Just in case the internet goes down, which it will in a bit here.
Yeah.
It's going to turn off.
So that was stupid. Like,
That was stupid.
why would we stick that shit in the ceiling? We were so pumped to move this place because it actually did have an office, a cinder blocked office. Like, we weren't tearing that out. It was kind of there. We're like, this is sweet. We'll have an office because we've never had an office before. But the problem is at that time, like, I kept building decks under Fresh Decks while we were at McCara. But when we moved to Dewdney, I stopped at that point. I was always going to stop. We just didn't know when. But that was it. It was like, it's busy enough now that I should stop. So now we had Wade working in there, myself working in there. And the guy who used to work with me under Fresh Decks came over as a salesperson with us at the deck shop. So there's 3 of us doing sales. And we split that office. It was just, we're going to get 3 desks from IKEA, wherever we got them from, and stuck one guy on one wall, one guy on the other wall, another guy on the other wall. And we just all worked in this one tiny little office back to back. And that was right at the front of the store. And that was how we operated out of that. It was like no consideration for losing more floor space to more offices or anything. It's just like jam everybody in one little room.
And also no space for our customers to like meet with us. Like you couldn't meet with anybody in there.
Yeah.
Right. We just like, oh, well, let's go back out here to the front. There was no privacy for any customers in that.
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about here? How about this one? How about this? This one's amazing that we actually still are around to this day, because we were super naive when we opened this place because neither of us had lumberyard experience. We didn't.
Well, like I had worked at a lumberyard when I was a teenager.
Neither of us knew everything that there was involved in running it from.
No.
Like you might have known how to move some shit around on a forklift or whatever, but we didn't actually have a proper like purchasing and receiving system in place.
What did you do?
We trusted that when we asked, so it was paper invoices at the time, paper purchase orders at the time. And that part was fine. We filled those out. However, we never like filled out the price that we expected to pay for things on those things.
Nope.
We did for a while and then that stopped.
It's a lot of work.
Took too much time.
We'd send that in, and then like being naive and not having ever done that before, we just assumed that when you asked for this list of things that the vendors were on it. They would like, you would get exactly what you asked for and you'd get all of it.
You didn't know if you were not going to get some of it and have already paid for it.
So it's like, the so-and-so distributors is showing up today. Sounds good. You'd get it and you'd put it all away. You didn't know.
How do you sell stuff if you don't know what you have?
You didn't know if you were shorted $10,000 worth of stuff. You didn't know if you got the wrong items, like in place of something else. You didn't know if you had just been charged the wrong price. Like you had your retail price set at $50 because you used to buy it at 38 and now they charge you 48 on this one.
54.
It
was a box of screws. There were some screws that our one bookkeeper caught for us.
Yeah. They were just selling at a loss forever.
We were buying them for 104 and selling them for 100. And she was like, you've been doing that for a year now. I was like, no. Yeah. I'm like, oh
no.
Shoot. Okay.
And now looking back with the systems we have in place now, and we do have clarity into how often orders are incorrectly shipped, back orders, misprice. Holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, an order just showed up the other week that had a bunch of wrong shit on it.
For 4 years.
Yeah.
Hey,
who knows? What?
But that's all just our stuff. That's better business practices for customers. Like we were legit digging boards out of the mud and then giving them to customers.
Yep.
Well, so I mean, we had a lot of.
How did you even you sold a deck, right? You'd received stuff kind of.
Yeah.
You checked it off.
Knew that it was there. Yeah.
Whipped it off. Right. But when did you find out you would be short for a project?
When you went to go pick the order. We didn't have an inventory system.
You had zero way of telling how much shit you had in the back.
Our inventory system was to walk around and see if there was any on the shelf.
Like, well, we might have some.
But remember how that yard looked. Good luck walking out there and see if you had something.
6 lifts deep.
Right.
Like our POS system, which I laugh at, it was an accounting software, and it had inventory, but it was not accurate. Like it was wrong all the time.
Right.
And it was so wrong that we just got to the point where it was like, we never looked at it and therefore never trusted it. and never tried to fix it because it was so wrong so early.
And it didn't have the ability to sell into negative inventory, which the system was always a negative inventory because we didn't enter inventory when it came in. We didn't enter it in a computer system.
Oh.
We just sold, but there was never an inventory number in there. So you'd sell things and the computer would be like, you have minus 857. You're like, sounds good. I'm selling 30 more. And the system didn't know how to calculate a cost to something it didn't have, that you never given it a cost to.
Right.
So it thought we still to this day have no idea where it would pull this number from, but it'd be like, oh, it turns out that our accounting system thinks that a 2x10 12 footer is worth $107,000. So our cost of goods sold this year is $343 million, and we've sold 800,000. Like, so it's just so whacked. We have no idea. And so it's amazing. It's amazing how
it's amazing.
We made it through the first 4 years. Like, for all we know, we're still owed back orders from the first 4 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh man. USMC says, what do you think the biggest cause of loss you had starting out?
Inventory. I mean, that's
damage inventory. Damage inventory.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have no idea what would be like what we were shorted and never got, but we're billed for. We have no idea. But I can tell you for sure there was a lot of material that we like ended up having to write off because
could be damaged inventory. It could have been lost customers too.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Like no doubt we lost a bunch of quotes.
Yep.
Yep.
So like,
how do you write off inventory if you don't really do inventory?
Oh, it's just a fancy accounting term.
I was going to say, you're going to be like, oh, those 12 boards, they're done.
But when I say write off, I mean, we looked at it and be like, well, that's NFG, that one there.
Throw it in the garbage can. That's called the write-off bin.
We'll let the accountant take care of that at the end of the year.
Yep.
Because then at the end of the year, we go out and like count everything manually. And then Wade would have to go back and be like, what are those words? What's the cost of one of those? Well, I don't know. I have to look back through like all of our POs and average out a cost, I guess. And at the end of the year, be like, I think we have this much. And then knowing that 20% of that material was damaged, you just hadn't like taken it out of inventory yet.
Yeah.
It's like, we have $1 million of inventory. Yeah, but probably only like 800 of it's actually sellable.
Right.
These are real conversations that we had with the accountant. That really happened.
Oh my gosh.
So then when we moved here and got systems set up here, whatever, we had like that boneyard was massive because we brought over something like 12 bundles. And when I say bundle, that's like
a lift and
probably
a half.
I was going to say like a double-sized lift of material that we would strap together just for all bits and pieces and randoms and stuff.
Get it over here.
There's like 12, like probably 20 lifts worth of stuff that have been collected over 4 years.
Right.
And that's when the boneyard was born. It was like, we need to get rid of this stuff.
Yeah.
We'll just blow it out for whatever somebody will pay for it kind of thing and get rid of it. And
the rules were like, really the rules were no negotiating. If somebody offered you money, you just sold it.
Took it.
Mm-hmm. Well, like.
So that costs a lot of money for sure.
Yeah.
What else? We talked about not having POS, so nothing was tracked.
Yeah.
Training was a foreign word to us in the first 4 years. It was like we'd hire people out of absolute like necessity because shit was getting wild. And it was like, we need bodies. And they'd come in and start the first day and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so. And we're like, sounds good. Go to the back and find a guy named Dave. And then you start
if you made
today.
the mistake of showing up for an interview, you were hired.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It was just like, I'm here. It was like, and even pretty close to on time. Would you like a job?
Even pretty close to on time. If you could see lightning and hear thunder, you were hired.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Just go back there and talk to the guy who hates his life because of what we do here. He'll get you on the right path. And then, so at some point, like, dude, I don't know, at some point we probably had 6 or 7 students back there. Nobody had any idea what they were doing. They weren't trained in any capacity. Nobody knew. Like, they all had to learn the fly.
We didn't train them about decking. We didn't train them how, like Shane and I, we talked about how we wanted to do deliveries, but we never actually communicated that to anyone.
That was how him and I would do it if we were doing them.
Right.
We weren't doing them anymore.
So we didn't tell anybody.
Right. You'd phone
so
the
then
tow
people
truck
would
company.
phone and they'd be like,
we had fired him already.
Yeah, we'd moved on.
Because before we left McCarroll, we bought a 3-ton flat deck truck. We finally found one and bought it and started doing our own deliveries again.
Yeah. At an auction in Edmonton. The mechanic bought it for us, actually. Yeah. He brought it back.
Landlord. The guy with the dogs.
He saw the chaos that was going on with the tow truck.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm in Edmonton. I found this truck. It's $20,000. Do you want it? Yep. Bring that back.
Bring that.
I don't know how we'll pay for it, but
And God, that was, you remember how excited we were about that thing though?
it was amazing.
We got it back. We got it wrapped. And it was like, at that time, I think we had one employee. We had Tyler who was working with us. He was the yard guy.
The Ninja.
He was so pumped. I mean, we had the two guys, the Ninja and Tyler. And, we like, they started calling it the Semi. It was just like, it was just a 3-ton truck, but it was like, it's our Semi because it's the biggest truck we'd ever owned. And so everybody was pretty pumped with that thing. I mean, it was great. We still have it. We still use it all the time. It's suited. It's done us well. Like, it was a very important purchase in the growth of this business for sure. Yeah. So yeah, in hindsight, it's been great.
Yeah. No training with deliveries. No training with what products were. No training about how to deal with customers.
Yeah.
And so we would have customers that would phone us and they'd be like, your delivery guys are awful. They're like, they yelled at me.
They yelled at you?
Yeah. Or your guys like delivered the product to the wrong place. It went to it's not where it's supposed to be. I was like, oh yeah, no, it's for sure it's at your place. No, it's not there. Delivery guys come back and be like, where'd you deliver that? They give you the address. It's like, no,
that's the wrong address.
Guys.
So we went and moved one night, you and me. And I don't know if that must have been delivered with the tow truck because we didn't have a truck to put it back onto. We had to put it in an enclosed trailer.
Didn't we use the flat deck trailer?
Nope. It was not the flat. I don't know that we had the flat deck trailer yet.
Oh yeah, because the doors are banging on it. We scratched the decking when we moved it.
So we get a call. I believe it was a job that I was building at the time. It was like one of my customers when I was still building. And the delivery went out that day. And I believe the customer who got the delivery was also my customer, or one of them was. And she texted me. She's like, oh, the material showed up already. And I wasn't planning on starting that job for 2 weeks. And I was like, what? The material showed up already. Call Wade. I was like, did so-and-so's delivery go out today? Nope. Well, she's saying she has material there. So anyways, we have to dig into this and find out that it was like, we delivered the material to the wrong house. It was the right street, but it was 2 blocks away.
Oh my.
So this is now after hours. We've got this delivery package that's sitting on the wrong person's driveway, sitting out in the middle of nowhere. And so it's like, well, we have to go move this. Like, this person can't get in the driveway right now. So Wade and I, we had no trailer at that time. I don't think we must not have had the 3-ton truck yet either. We had no means to deliver long stuff. So we took my trailer, I think, my just enclosed trailer, my 6x12 enclosed trailer. Mm-hmm. We had to back it up and stick whatever they were, 20-foot boards, 16-foot boards, in this little trailer, hanging out the back of the thing, and then hook up the trailer and drag it with the doors open 2 blocks down the street, and then unload it all and get my hand to this new spot. And I was like, there we go. Right house now.
Smokes.
These people left us 5-star reviews. This is a true story. They thought that we were doing great.
You guys did a good job.
We were personable. There's that.
Yep.
We had the effort level. We cared.
Yep.
So you know what else we used to do? Sell people's shit out from underneath them because we had no idea it was supposed to be for them.
This is an inventory problem.
This is an inventory problem. So somebody would come in and be like, well, I would like to buy some, whatever, TimberTech Silver Maple. Do you have it in stock? Let me check. And you'd run
you stay
100 feet out the back of this building. It was long and skinny. You go out there, you go out in the yard and you look and be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come back in. Yep, we got it. Sounds good. Okay, I'll sell it to you. Boom, boom, boom. You got your trailer here? Yeah, I do. Boom, load it up. Away they go.
Come back in 3 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, I made that sound fast.
Can you come back in 3 hours?
Load them up, they'd be gone. Next day, somebody would show up, be like, or we have to pick a delivery or something, and material's not there. Guy comes up to load it, and it's like, I'm here, coming to pick up this stuff. Sounds good. Backs in, needs 80 of this board. We have 17. What happened? Where's all my decking? It was here when I bought it. Oh shit! Yeah, that we sold that to somebody yesterday. He took it. Well, I bought it 2 weeks ago.
Maybe you did, but he took it first.
He did.
I was going to say.
Well, that was supposed to be mine. You're right. That was supposed to be.
And I have my family coming to help me build this weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This really seems like if you had the cash, you could get what you wanted at the deck shop at the time. Because if it was there,
you had the means
to take it now.
Yeah. It was first come. It was first take, first serve.
First
it was like not first come. You could be the first, didn't matter. You could first, second, third. If you weren't the guy with the trailer the fastest, you didn't get it. So that was a problem for that was even a problem even up to last year. I'd say we still weren't managing orders that weren't taken at the time real well. We were still like sending stuff out. Now we've got a system in place where
everything was handled.
It'll avoid that because we weren't doing, as we talked about, was going to say proper inventory management. We weren't doing any inventory management for the first 4 years. Year number 5, we really started the inventory side of things and got that kind of started to go. And then honestly, it wasn't until last year that we started to kind of really get it trustworthy. And then we've made a lot of growth over this year to like, that's nailed down now. And the order system will properly hold inventory.
Yeah.
We now have trust in our system and the numbers are in it,
but
to be able to use them the way they're supposed to be used.
We also had to stop not trusting our system. We had to start just being like,
it was so many years of
this
not
has to work.
Yeah. Minus 837 was minus 837 now.
It is now.
Or you were doing an inventory count because you knew that was wrong.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was an issue. Like we
And that one cost us so much money too. So that would make people mad. And then we would make an emergency trip to somewhere.
Calgary.
Somewhere.
Well, sometimes it was only Saskatoon, right? Because one of our suppliers was in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
But often it ended up in a 1-day emergency trip, truck and trailer to Calgary, because most of our suppliers were there.
So you drive there, load up.
Leave at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning, drive there, load like empty, load the trailer as full as you could load the trailer.
As full as.
And then add 2 more on top.
With zero regard for what the capacity of the trailer could carry.
Right. Didn't matter.
Put it on the trailer.
Just got to get it back.
Figure this out.
Yeah.
I'll drag it back on skis if I have to.
The very, very first time I did this, I left the yard, where we picked our stuff up from the supplier, and I was driving, and I got to an intersection, and the light was red, and I was like, yeah, sounds good. And I hit my brakes, and it had absolutely zero effect on the inertia of my truck. And I went through that intersection in a red light. Absolutely nothing happened. It was like, brake. Nope. It was as if I was still in gear. And I was just like, well, shit, this is not good. Like I'm in a lot of trouble. Like I have an 8-hour drive with.
Oh, but you don't have to stop in that whole
8 hours. You're just
getting to the highway.
Regina here.
8-hour drive with a truck that can't control what's on it.
You're going to have to use the uphill at Lumsden to start your descent into Regina.
So start braking now.
Anyway, oh man, it was unbelievable. And then we'd get back and the customer, like they'd be so pissed because we'd sold the product out from under them. They had to wait longer. So the compromise was, well, we'll deliver it to you for free. And the only time that was really, really awful is somebody was like an hour and a half out of town.
Oh man. And they came in to get it.
Yep. But then what do you do? Like, the right thing to do is to deliver that to them because you blew it. Like we messed up.
Hardcore. Yeah.
I think the reason that we still got 5-star reviews on this is that we would literally do anything to fix it, to make it right.
Because when they
left, we knew
when they
that
left,
it was shitty.
Shane would come back to the store or I would come back to the store and we'd tell each other the story. And then it would be like, well, it's like, just do anything. Take them a gift card in addition to all of that stuff.
Right.
Because
pay them off, bribe them.
Yeah. And just like, and you wouldn't ask for any review. It'd just be like, just do that. It was like the 7 customers that things went flawlessly with, we would ask those 7 for reviews.
But it
didn't happen all the time.
But I mean, let's be honest, in 5 years, we only got like 40 reviews. Like it just didn't like, it wasn't like we were crushing good ones. It was just the ones that did come in happened to be good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So out of all of this stuff, from what I'm hearing, the biggest thing that could have helped the Ultimate Deck Shop would have been an inventory system day one.
Oh man.
That really,
that fixes a couple things on the list.
But it really seems like it fixes selling stuff out from customers,
it's
all the
one.
PO issues.
It's certainly a big one.
Everything.
Yeah. It's a big one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Saves you a bunch of money and time.
You would have known the cost of things if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But so, and here's the stuff that we did that was a little slightly out of our control is like those yards were bad.
Those yards were bad.
Yeah. I mean, we chose them, but kind of our fault there too. In fact, we chose one because we were super excited about it because it was way better than our old yard and it was just as bad. It was just bigger.
I don't feel as bad about the first yard as I do about the second yard. First yard, I understand why we did that.
Yes.
We were being very conservative and we didn't want to go broke right away.
The problem with the second yard is that we're like, we have all the space now. Order all the things.
Yeah.
It's like, we can carry so much now. And so it was in worse shape than the one before because we put more stuff in there.
Yes.
Should have ordered the same amount that you had on Macara.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And then things would have been fine there.
Yeah.
But we thought bigger yard, we can have more stuff in stock.
We just about got caught in that trap here. When we moved into this location, we started moving stuff in and we were so excited because we laid it out and we were like, we're going to do one spot for each like size, brand and size of decking. And then we started to add and we started to add more and we added more. And finally we sat down and we're like, what are we doing? We're right down the same path again.
Yeah.
Stop. It's okay that you don't have 51 colors. You can have 30. That's enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what happened.
Literally 4 times more than any of your competitors. You're fine there. Yeah. So yeah, pretty wild. And the funny thing is the first one we signed a 3-year lease, actually the first one. I was going to say 5, but I think it was actually 3.
We did 3.
And so we got it out a year early and we got stuck with that, but we didn't, we were able to find a sublease for it. And so she took over the spot for a year, which was good. The second place we're like, oh, this is the final destination. We'll do 5 years here. Moved out in 2 again. So we were on the hook for 3 more years. We're still paying that lease.
Yes, we are.
We're still paying that one down.
We paid that 1 year. We paid an entire year worth of rent and an empty building.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I was around then.
Yeah, just paying for 2 spots. And then we've got that one subleased now too, but it's only covering about 75% of the cost of what we are paying for it. But we weren't looking to move yet. Like, we hated how operations worked in that place, hated it, but there was no chance we were moving because at that time we knew that we were looking to expand to our Saskatoon store. Mm-hmm. So at the end of year 2, we were like, we knew we were doing that by late summer. We were like, we're doing Saskatoon this year. Let's get the ball rolling on that. So we weren't moving in Regina because we were opening a store. And then I don't know when this was, October, November, somewhere in there.
It was October. It was nice out.
Wade made a trip over to Prime Fasteners to grab some stuff for us. And he came back to the store and came into the office, which we so cozily shared, and said, we're moving. I turned around and was like, we're not moving. We're moving.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not.
Get in the truck.
We're moving. Wade, we're opening Saskatoon. We can't move.
Can't open 2
and
stores.
open Saskatoon at the same time. Yeah. We can't.
And then I was just
you and I are building this place. Like, how are we going to do both these things?
Get in the truck.
Get in the truck.
Get in the truck. And so he came outside. He got in the truck. And we drove to the new location. And I drove into the yard. And I just stopped. And I parked the truck and I just sat there. Neither of us spoke. And he was looking around. And he looked at the building and he looked at the yard and he saw the gate. And he turns and he looked at me and he was like, well, shit. We're moving. And I was just like, it might have been more explicit than that because I was going to say, I was wondering if you were going to say the F-bomb or not, but I think it was one of those like, well, shit is a good way to put it. Nice way to put it. It was like crap. Yeah. But it was because we both knew, like as soon as we saw the spot, it was like, well, this fixes a lot of the issues that we have. Mm-hmm. And it had customer parking and it had a drive-through yard and semis could be unloaded in the yard. And it was like everything that we had learned in the first building and second building. So then it was like, okay, well now the building is no longer an issue. Now we're the issue. Right. We have to fix this. Yeah. Like we have to change how we operate this business. Mm-hmm. Because we're about to take on a bigger lease again. Double our rent again. Yeah. Right. And it was like, this is going to be bad if we don't get this stuff figured out. Mm-hmm. And then we started to run some numbers, they're made up numbers because we actually didn't know the cost of anything at that time. We were just like, bring it in and try to sell it for more than we thought we bought it for. But we started to try and figure out how much it cost us every day to break material in the other yard. And then when we added that up, it was like, well, we're actually already, it's a wash. We're paying this lease already. Right. So exactly. That's okay. You're already there. Let's just not break as much stuff. Yeah. And we haven't in this yard. We don't break even a 16th or 100th of what we used to break. Well, you don't lose a whole lift in the mud. So this is true. Not a single lift has been lost in the mud. Yeah. So somehow we got that in motion. We leased that building as well and had the building in Saskatoon leased. And it was still for the most part, just Wade and I and Justin. I don't know if we had yard guy. Pat was with us at that point. Yes.
So it was the four of us. And then Justin quit in December. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
You're like, we're moving. And Justin's like, peace.
Yeah. So the three of us, me, you, and Pat, were responsible for, and Pat's not responsible for any of it. He was just he was our yard guy at the time. The three of us had to get Saskatoon built out. It was a brand new building. It was just a shell too. So we had to build that out, which we were doing a lot of the work ourselves. And we had to get Regina moved and build out this building as well.
We had to do the displays in here.
I mean, I still have pictures of this building when it was nothing.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of work that had to be done here. There's like, that's an understatement. There was an insane amount of work that had to be done here. And there's an insane amount of work that had to be done in Saskatoon. And like, I even talking through this right now, I don't know how the hell we got this all right. I don't know how that even happened that winter.
Well, COVID happened.
Well, not till a little bit later.
Oh yeah. I guess
everything was done. We were moved in.
Saskatoon ended up opening a little bit later than we wanted it to. That's the one thing, I guess. But
no consequence there because everything was canceled.
Could you imagine if the home shows would have went down that year?
Oh man.
Yeah. And we had our old store at Dudney was, we didn't have to be out of there at any given time, right? It was like, we still had the lease.
So you could still just keep stuff
so
there.
We could bring the yard material over as we needed it. We just had to get the building ready. And then that's how that kind of happened. I guess we must have just worked like dogs that whole summer, like doing renos, like framing and insulating and painting and drywalling and over that whole winter.
Yep.
Yeah. And then when the thaw came, it's like all the new material we were getting for that year, we put away first in this new yard and laid it out and then started bringing over the old stuff. All summer we were doing that. We were bringing over stuff from the old yard.
Yep.
And then placing it, putting it, sorting it, getting the damaged stuff out, and doing all that. So somehow we ended up having Regina open and ready to go March 1st, I think. We were moved over and we were like, we're operating out of this location now permanently for March 1st because we were still operating out of the other one until then. We were just over here a lot. And then the plan was for Saskatoon to kind of be open by the end of March too. And we didn't get that open until April 27th was the date that we got it open. We were supposed to do 3 home shows that March. And they all got canceled because of COVID, which was probably the biggest blessing in disguise. Because if we had to pause everything to do those home shows, we would have never got that store open up there. Not till June. It would have been an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
Like it was already, but it would have been worse. Would have been way, way worse. And then we had to hire people for both stores and get them in and try to get them trained. And at the same time, we were also launching a new website and we were launching a POS system and inventory management. And
you're just trying to
make all these. Not only was everything physical about the business changing, everything virtually software related was changing. People were changing. Nothing stayed the same. Me, Wade, and Pat. That's the only thing.
We didn't have any time cards before. We had no, people used to fill out time cards on paper. And then we went to an actual scheduling system where people would have a schedule.
Everything about the business changed the day, the year that we opened up Saskatoon and moved Regina. The business went in a different direction. And it's been changing ever since. Yeah. And it's funny to look outside now and be like, holy smokes, it's not that long ago.
No,
we were
7 years isn't that long, right?
Well, a couple of years ago, we were still in Dudney picking shit out of the mud.
Exactly.
To where we are now.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty crazy to think about it.
Yeah. And we got lit up along the way.
All the time.
Customers were mad.
Yeah.
So, and they had every right to be mad. Yeah. I wouldn't have bought from me then.
Well, you think back now, it's just like, holy smokes, how did we get through that? And then I always think back now too.
Ran the Moneris machine. Do you remember the very first time we ran the credit card machine?
Yeah.
It's like some customer
cardboard box.
Yeah. A customer was coming in that day to buy a deck package. She had met us at the home show, told us she was going to come in and buy a deck. And it was a pretty good sized deck package at the time.
Between $10,000 and $11,000, I think it was. Yeah.
And so we had no idea if the machine worked. So we got it all plugged in, fired up, ready to go. And we thought it was going to work. And then so we tested it. Shane bought a saw blade with his.
Oh, that time. Yeah. Sure.
And it worked. And it was
yes.
Well, I think it worked.
Let's take money.
Yeah.
Can you take payment? Yeah. I don't know if it actually goes into a bank account, but what I do know is that when your card goes through there, it works.
Approved.
So.
Yep. So anyway, here we are. But I know there's other people that are trying to do this now in other markets. And sometimes they reach out to us and be like, hey, I want to start a lumberyard. And it's like, if I knew
you shouldn't.
if I knew what I knew now, I don't think like you have to be a lot naive and dumb,
right,
to do what we did. Like we had no idea what we were getting into.
Yeah.
But if you knew all that crap ahead of time, that's a tough thing to start. I think
maybe not knowing some of those numbers probably kept you moving forward.
Being blind for sure helped. And it's
the only other way you could do it is if you had enough money to fund it properly.
Oh yeah,
because our big Achilles heel was that we didn't have the money.
Yeah,
right?
we were bootstrapping this thing.
Like I couldn't. There's no way we could have ever started in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were starting a lumberyard and it was like go get a spot, you wouldn't go get 1,000 square foot building and a 3,000 square foot yard.
Sure,
you'd go get a loan.
Oh,
we didn't. We were like, we're not doing that.
Right.
Yeah, we were determined to not.
We're not going to do shares.
I don't know if it's by choice or not. We were like, we're not going to bring in, because we thought about seeing if we can get investment or loans, and we decided not to do the investor route and couldn't get a loan.
Yeah.
So it was like, by default, we're like, I guess we're just bootstrapping this thing. Then we'll start at the bottom, and now we're here.
Yeah.
USMC says, what do you think kept it going when so many others fail?
That's a good question.
Well, I think part of the answer we just said, I think it was being like naive to it, but we both kind of like gave up our past lives and just jumped into it. So it was like, this was it. And like,
I think it was
because it was working too. That's what kept us going. It worked. It was an absolute crap show while we were doing it, but we didn't know any better. Like at that time when we were delivering with the tow truck, we thought that was great. Now we look back and be like, that was silly.
That was silly.
When we had that yard and we were putting material in there, we're like, hey, we have material on hand. It was great. Now we look back and be like, good God. But at the time, it was like, before we ever opened the doors, we did a business plan and we had some forecasts. And that first year was like, the first 2 years were bang on. We're like, holy sh... Because we had no idea even about the industry. We just used some Stats Canada numbers and pulled some stuff and be like, I think we can sell this much material. Mm-hmm. And then we sold
did that much material.
And it was like
within
holy smokes.
within $1,000.
Oh, wow.
It was close.
Yeah, it was really close. And the next year was like bang on again. We're like, holy smokes. And the next year was a bunch of growth. So honestly, that is why I think we kept going, because it showed that what we were doing is working, as imperfect as it was. And we knew that that's not how we wanted this. That was not the goal. We didn't start out with the dream, and we're still not at the dream business, but that's like, it showed that it was working. We wanted to do it. We were passionate about the business.
That's what I think. Right. So it's like, how did it work? It worked because we willed it to. Like it just wasn't not going to work.
And a bit of dumb luck.
So Carly says here, it helped that you didn't know that you were losing money. Yeah,
absolutely.
It for sure would. Like if you were a dollars and cents guy crunching the numbers in the books and you were following things closely that first year, maybe you would have bounced out
like too. Every time you looked at a broken board, you would have been ready to turn.
But I mean, we didn't take a salary for 2 years at that place. When I was building decks, I was bringing like the money I brought in from building decks. Wade and I shared it. It was like, it was like, we'll pay ourselves. You're going to get $20 an hour. I'm going to get $20 an hour. And then the business has what it needs to operate, hopefully. Above and beyond the $40 an hour is like, then Fresh Decks can, whatever. I don't know. I was charged like $50. Like it probably wasn't making money either. It for sure wasn't.
Right.
Like at the end when I quit, I still owed money to people that I didn't have, or to whatever taxes, whatever. So it wasn't either. But that $20 an hour that I was able to keep bringing in for each of us was like, it paid some of our own bills until the winter came. And then every winter I remember every winter it was like, told my wife, like, I'm not going to have a check for like 4 months now. So
and I would try to do some trim work. I would do the odd, because I used to be a trim guy. So then I would do some railing or some trim jobs, or I'd help somebody with a basement renovation for the first 2 years.
Yeah. Make a couple grand doing that stuff in the winter, maybe just try to pay a bill or two. But the first couple of years are pretty skinny. We never paid ourselves anything from the deck shop, I think, until it was at least year 3, if not past that, and then started to pay ourselves a little bit and then build it up and whatever. But that's a good question though. Why do you think it kept going when so many others failed? I don't know. It's just never been an option to not. The only time,
there you go.
The only time that I ever even questioned whether this was going to last was 2 Marches ago when COVID hit. That was the first time I was ever like, oh shit, this could all be over. But
I remember that.
From the day I left SaskTel, which was March 6th of that year, like I was still working at SaskTel until March 6th, and the home show was the 19th or whatever. And like from the day I left there, not one time was I ever like, I don't know if this is the right decision. We never made a dime off the business for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I made decent money at SaskTel, and it was certainly cozy and comfy, but never regretted it for one minute. And like, we always felt like this is working. It helped that the first day we were open, we sold that deck to that one lady for 10 grand at 9 o'clock as soon as we opened. It's like we opened and she bought something. It was like, holy,
So, and I
did that really just happen?
And I had worked in construction up until that point, and I never got jobs that were that big. The whole, I worked construction as a trim carpenter for, it must have been 8-9 years. Mm-hmm. And most of my jobs that I did, I was changing interior doors and casing. And so those would be $5,000 or $6,000 jobs. They were good jobs. Yeah. Every once in a while you would do a basement renovation and it would be a $50,000 job, but I never got paid in big chunks. It was always like, I want a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And so the very first day we opened, I took more money that day than I had taken from anyone in 7 years.
Yep.
And so I was just like, well, of course this works. Like, look how easy it is to get big chunks of money.
Yeah. One time.
You remember when there was a Hutter 8 colony that came in and bought 26 decks?
Yeah.
Paid with a check. Yep. They bought 26
Those guys
decks.
are nuts.
And back then we weren't stocking and stuff. We started stocking a bit of lumber first and like some Fasten Master stuff. And some hangers and things. Like we started stocking that stuff pretty early on, the small bits and pieces, but everything else was ordered as we needed it.
Yep.
And so when you took a check for 10 grand, it was like, it's not like that was nice back then when you got the money first and then got the bill.
Oh yeah. Right.
There was no carrying costs of the inventory.
Yep.
It was like, get a check for 10, order it, send 8 of it to pay for the stuff or whatever. Right.
Right.
So that kind of worked.
Keep the profit.
But not a long-term, doesn't work long-term. That's not what people expect from.
What we did was we then take that profit and then instead of buying, typically what happened is it would come in lifts and the count wouldn't be exactly the same, but then we would order a lift.
Right. You'd start stocking.
And then we would stock whatever was left over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, do you stock that? It's like, yeah, I got 8.
I got
8 of them. Like,
I got to do a landing.
yeah, that's right. Well, my deck needs 27. Matt, you're going to have to wait, I guess.
Yeah. But let me look at them. I have 3.5. I got 3.5 for you. I got a real good deal on the other 4.5 though.
Yep.
So
we just wanted it more.
Lot of learnings along the way and still growing. And like I said to Wade today, it's like I walk out in the yard now and look at it and it's just like things are really good right now. Mm-hmm. Like things look great out there. Everybody's in control. The people are in place. We're growing. We have lots of things we're still working on. We're aware of them. The issues we deal with nowadays are so small compared to the issues we used to have. Right. Or they're issues, they're growth issues, not operational issues.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's like when we have a big thing we need to do, it's because we're trying to grow the business to the next level, not because we're trying to fix something that's terrible.
Not because we're trying to put out a fire.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. We have the odd.
Fires happen.
Yeah.
Well, 100% they happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every business can have fire. You'll never get to a point where there's no fires.
Right.
But like when you look back on how things used to operate, now I feel like when somebody used to drive into that yard on Dudney, it was embarrassing.
Right.
Yep.
It was embarrassing to have somebody drive back there and see what that looked like. And now when somebody drives into our yard right now, I'm like, this looks great.
Right. You're like, come on
in and take a look. Have a look around.
I felt like that about our warehouses for a really good portion of last year and some of this year.
Yep.
I felt that way about our warehouses.
The warehouses are getting and they're tidied up now too.
Fixed up.
Yep. Yeah. Nothing's perfect yet. We'll keep trying to improve, but
just remember back to that first yard, guys.
100%.
And always remember carrying railing upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was it that started? That was their very first day. We had them carry 2 crates of decking up, railing upstairs. Was that Dave?
Oh, probably. If it would be anybody, it'd be Dave. Yeah.
His very first day, he showed up and it was just like, all right, there's
you go.
2 pallets of railing outside. Where does that go? Upstairs. 30 some degrees outside. And he did.
75 degrees upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. So there's our list of things that we laugh at ourselves about now. We told the vendors how they could be better. These are all the things that we've worked on over the years to get better. still things we can do.
Yep, that's right.
Get better and better, but there's a little bit of laughing and joking at ourselves right now too. So you can sit back and know that we're not just all about pointing fingers. We
got 4.
3 right back at us.
That's right.
So, and if we're being shitty still in some capacity, let us know. We'll try to fix that too.
Yeah.
So
do a podcast about us.
Right? Yeah. You're more than welcome to start your own podcast and blast us too. We've set the precedent now. So that's it for me, boys. You guys good?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Nothing.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Now you know what we're about. Check the site, come and shop. UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right away for sponsorships, or tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.